why can't every show be like Sacred Games? What is up, Netflix fans, and welcome back to my channel. I finally got to see Season 2 of Sacred Games. I watched all 8 episodes this morning. I need your comments down below. Were you looking forward to this? How do you feel about Season 1? And thank you for all of the requests to watch Season 1 of Sacred Games. We're going to talk about it. I'm not going to do heavy spoilers. If you want that video, let me know in the comments down below. Just because the show just came out, not everyone has had the chance to talk about it. I'm just going to give you guys my general thoughts. Let's get into it. What is Sacred Games, you ask? So a link to their pasts leads an honest cop to a fugitive gang boss whose cryptic warning spurs the officer on a quest to save Mumbai from cataclysm. And that's the basic premise of Season 1. The character of Sartaaj, he gets a phone call, and basically the entire city is in jeopardy when this guy who perceives himself as God threatens to blow up, destroy, do something bad to the entire city. And that season is all about, well, multiple things. There are a lot of storylines going on, but it's about a gangster versus a cop, and people die. There are sacrifices that are made, and there are 2 storylines that are going on, and those 2 storylines converge, and then they carry on over into Season 2, and the craftsmanship of this show is something that I was afraid, maybe Season 2 is not going to be as good. Maybe it's just not going to work as well, because I love how cinematic everything feels. And we'll talk about the story here in just a second, but the look, the feel, the way that everything is shot, down to the action scenes, and then the acting. Everything here, what you love about movies and television shows, it works so well, and it makes me look at this Indian television show and I go, why don't I watch more of these? This was phenomenal. It's just a grand experience, an experience that I think a lot of people may be afraid to watch because it's, I don't like dubbing, I don't want to read the caption and do the subbed version. No, listen to me. If you love filmmaking at its finest and you love grand and beautiful storytelling, watch Sacred Games. It's worth it. Season 1 is great. Season 2, I really enjoyed it. Now, I don't think I like it as much as Season 1, just because Season 1, it captured the magic in every aspect. And you still have everything that works from Season 1 in Season 2. Season 2 did start off on a bit of a slower note for me, whereas Season 1, you get thrown into the action. In Season 2, you get a bit more build-up for certain characters, and we know that we were introduced to certain storylines at the end of Season 1, and we pick right back up. And we pick up in 1994 when Gaetan resurfaces in a new location, and we're back in his storyline, except this season, it's a lot different, because in Season 1, right, he's this big crime lord, and he has everyone on his side, and people fear him. In Season 2, he has to kind of start from scratch, and he begins to realize that maybe he's not all that he thought he was cracked up to be. He's not all that everyone else thought he was cracked up to be, and he's really trying to find himself in this season. He still believes that he is this ruthless man that he was from Season 1, but the character progression here was extremely interesting. It went a route that I didn't anticipate, and we're still on that storyline converging into where we saw him in Season 1. And then you have the character of Sartaaj, and Sartaaj's character, he is of course on this mission to find out, okay, what's going to happen? When is it going to happen? Well, he knows when it's going to happen, but where in the world am I going to find all of these answers, and how am I going to stop the plans of the character of Shahid Khan? And we're talking nuclear level threats here, right? This is not just, that's gonna, the city and the people. No, this is a big deal. And this season gets big. Now, like I said, it starts out on a bit of a slower note, and the pacing here is something that I didn't take issue with. I was still enjoying myself, but I'm like, this is significantly slower than Season 1, and the dialogue may not have been as crisp at times. I think the humor worked a tad bit more in Season 1, but you're still on this mission, you're on this journey, and then you get about halfway through the season, and something happens. There are one or multiple events that put you on this path towards destruction. I mean, they're on day 12 of the countdown. They're finding pamphlets in the bunker that indicate something is coming, and then they uncover that the threat level to the city is a nuclear terror attack. And this isn't a major spoiler, but you start to basically go into Chernobyl territory when you have these victims coming in and their bodies are burnt to a crisp, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what is setting this in motion? And then once you realize what is actually happening here, it just hits this level of intensity that I expected it to hit, but I didn't expect it to hit it in this fashion. And the execution is brilliant. Now, I just want to back up real quick and saying I apologize if I'm botching a few of these names. I've watched the show, I swear. It's just I do have trouble with pronouncing certain things, and I am semi-new to a few of these actors, and I know they are extremely famous actors in India, and they really have incredible credits to their names, so let me know if you guys think I should watch more things with these actors in them. I would love to hear some recommendations, but back to the show. So like I said earlier, Gaetan, he's kind of turning his life around. He's realizing now that the way he was living is different from the way he needs to continue to live out his life, even though his ambitions and his goals are still the same. He realizes that Guruji's sermons and the stories, there's much more to them. There's a deep connect between what he is telling him and his own life story. And as he puts that connection together, and he is set on certain paths by certain characters that tie heavily to Sartaaj's storyline, those stories continue to ride closely together in two different time periods. Now, here's my favorite part about this season. My favorite part about this show in general, because season 1 did it as well. You have the directors here, directing two different concurrent storylines that you know connect in so many different ways, but they take place in two different time periods. Yet, as an audience member, it doesn't feel overly convoluted. It doesn't feel confusing. I can tell that this is happening in the 90s, 1994, the early 2000s, while this story over here is happening now. Whether you can or can't tell that from the technology being used, the fact that they utilize social media multiple times in this season. I know it doesn't feel like as big of a deal as it actually is, but it's so hard to properly master that kind of storytelling, and I believe Sacred Games does that. It brings the storytelling, it brings a layered story to us, and it delivers on all of the Sacred Games-esque things that you wanted from Season 1 to Season 2, and Season 2 has that. Now, the first few episodes, they're a bit lighter on those Sacred Game tropes, if you will. It's not the huge gear shift that you anticipate, but if you're wanting these massive revelations, a bunch of action, and really hardcore sexual scenes, the sexual scenes are in there, but it's not as crazy as Season 1. And it really is just laying the groundwork for what happens in the second half of the season. And speaking of new things this season, we have the character of Guruji, whose voice, while nefarious, almost seductively prompted me to believe in his cause. I mean, he is such an intriguing character. His motivations are clear, but everything he's saying, they're ridiculously charismatic. Of course, the character of Gaetan, I mean, no time has technically passed between the two seasons, but his character is changing, and the progression, like I said, all throughout this season, he really is coming into what we see later on. And then, of course, the character of Sartaaj. I mean, trying to figure out the connection between his father and Gaetan and Guruji. And what I love about the character of Sartaaj is as his predicament gets worse and his character gets deeper and deeper into what's happening, he's more stressed out. Clearly, you can see the actor flourish, and he gives a performance here. A performance that completely blew me away. His performance may even be more incredible here than it was in Season 2. And what I love about both of those storylines is that they're combining, and the seamless storytelling makes me sit back and go, you know, who is to blame for the incredible storyline that's being presented on screen? Of course, the directing, of course, the executive producers, everyone involved with this project. They're bringing something to Netflix that, frankly, I don't think they've ever seen before. It is the Netflix version of Game of Thrones, in my opinion, from India, but it's a more important story than Game of Thrones because you're dealing with actual things that happen in real life, drug trafficking, Chernobyl-esque events, the crime boss aspect. There's so many things cram-packed into one show, but it also comes down to the editor of this show. And I'm going to put her name on screen just because I don't even want to try to tackle it, but you have two directors directing two different storylines that somehow this can be turned into one coherent story, and at the end of the day, Sacred Games Season 2, it continues the story from the first season, changes up the formula a bit in the first few episodes. It's not as crazy as you anticipated, but once you hit episode 5, you kind of hit the ground running, and then episodes 7 and 8. Just be ready for the crazy. Listen, if you guys want spoilers, we'll talk spoilers later, because I do kind of want to hit on what happened in that episode, but oh my goodness, Sacred Games Season 2 really goes out with a bang, and yeah, guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this season of television. Once again, just like slightly behind Season 1. I'm still going 88% for Sacred Games Season 2. That's my non-spoiler review. I tried to keep it as vague as possible. If I gave anything away, you can let me know that in the comments. I apologize. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. A lot of fun talking about Sacred Games. More things to come this weekend. We have the Peanut Butter Falcon, Good Boys, Mindhunter Season 2, all of those things coming your way. And I'll see you very soon.